So a programmer's wife tells him, while you're at the grocery store, get some milk. He never came back. It's for developers. It's for programmers.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's very deep. Okay.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 5th video cast. Yeah, I'm Wolfi, and as always, with me is Elad. We are both certified LeSS trainers, and for this episode, we are back to our standard format, which means 2 questions, 5-minute time box for each. Today's topic is product backlogs and how many do we need?
Okay. So let's first point out that if you are familiar with LeSS, then the answer is probably very simple, right? We need 1 product backlog, 1 product owner, and yeah, I can see what you're doing over there. You know, it's a virtual conference. So, however, since many organizations and product groups still have multiple product backlogs, we thought it's interesting enough to discuss.
So where do multiple backlogs come from, and why are they undesired in LeSS?
I'll start with the second part. Why are they undesired in LeSS? Okay. If you have multiple backlogs, it becomes nearly impossible to work in full alignment with business priorities. And failing to do that, failing to work according to business priorities will result more often than not in a negative impact on profitability. And then why would the company want to do that? I mean, why would someone want to have a negative impact on profitability? So LeSS is a framework that is aimed at optimizing for maximum ROI and agility, right? We're on the same page with that, I hope. So we do not recommend having more than a single product backlog exactly for that reason. This is why it is undesired. I hope at least that part was clear. Now, we get to talk to a lot of people, we do trainings, right? And we meet people, and some will say, no, we have multiple backlogs, and we are still working only on high priority items. And in my experience, this is often, I would be gentle and I would say a false statement that organizations just tell themselves in order to feel good about the way they do things and not feel that they have a lot of room for improvement, right? Also helps maintain the status quo, reviewing Larman's laws and stuff like that. But let me just give you an example. Even if you're able at a specific point in time to work with multiple product backlogs and be fully aligned to priorities, that is definitely not agile. What will happen if you need a big strategy change? Like a simple example would be if you have a web app, and then you decide that you want to shift all of your efforts to mobile because web is no longer relevant. But you have only 2 teams that are responsible for the mobile product, which is of course the fake product. And now try and be agile enough to shift in that direction. That would make no sense. Actually, in some situations, it would even prevent or refrain the organization from making the right business decision. So not a good strategy. Highly recommended to avoid having multiple product backlogs and any kinds of siloing of information and knowledge. So now the first part of your question is, why do organizations have multiple backlogs, right? And I answered why it is undesired, but I think that is a result of the classic organizational design, what we have been falsely educated. And when organizations are starting small, usually there's of course 1 product backlog, if at all. It could be just an email going back and forth, and just 1 team working on that and taking ownership over the full product. And it becomes a problem when the organization is growing. Now we have maybe 2 teams or 3 teams, and then managers who are again, unfortunately, often not well educated. Let's just say it like that. They believe that specialization of teams is the efficient way to go. And of course, the more effective way to go is just growing teams' capability to be able to contribute value in the right places based on the priority. And I often say to organizations that it's more important or more effective to work on the high priority stuff slowly than to work on the low priority stuff fast. I probably also said that in our conversation before. So that organizational designs of having multiple specializing teams results in knowledge scatter, and then as time goes by, the problems become even worse. And then it's very, very hard to overcome it. You're in a state where the knowledge scatter is so huge. So you're losing the ability to really create value as the organization becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think this is again, why it is very undesired, and the reason is just poor decisions and poor and misunderstood system models. Mm-hmm. Good. So now my question, Wolfi, if I may. Thank you. We are well aware that all models are wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Some are useful, but they are all wrong. So what are the situations in which it makes sense to you, if at all, to have more than a single product backlog?
Well, the short answer is it depends, because the context matters a lot. And I think that one of the reasons is, as you already mentioned earlier, that the organizations might feel too comfortable in their current position. And that is why I say it depends. So let's come to this one. So ideally, there is only one product backlog per product. And so this means that organizations are always working on the highest value items. They're always on top. They can always be worked on, and everything is there nicely visible. So therefore, to have one product and having therefore one product backlog is an organizational design goal within LeSS. Now, in reality, it might be simply too hard to achieve for one organization. And they might never even reach this perfection goal. And the bigger the company, the worse it gets. So as you also mentioned, in your smaller companies, this is maybe more easy to achievable, but in larger companies, this might get really, really difficult. There might be good reasons to have several backlogs, and then either in form of what I call explicit or implicit lists. So what are those? Why this distinction? Well, typically, the product backlog represents an explicit list. So it's visible to everybody, okay, there's the one list of items. But then within this product backlog, there might be several implicit so-called hidden lists also in. This means, for example, imagine a team can only work on some of the items, but not on all of the product backlog items. Like you had just the example of the mobile application. So that would be, for example, an implicit backlog. So only some of the teams can work on some of the areas. And so one reason might be that the problem domain has a very wide variety of product areas. So for example, imagine insurance company. So there might be a vehicle, there might be life, there might be health insurance, pension, liability, and so on and so on and so on. Or another one would be like in banking. Also there you have very many possibilities how to actually, or what products are in there. So, and that might be simple, too big to handle challenge for maybe the product owner, the teams, or both. Yeah? So that they cannot comprehend anymore all these domains, all the technologies required to get something done, at least every 2 weeks. And in such a case, then we might need to divide the product either into customer-centric product areas, so we call them LeSS requirement areas, or then we literally divide the product. So, and remember that if you have these product areas, you actually create implicit lists, and that typically leads, as we just learned, to local optimization. So this is undesired in this way. And so I'm also aware of one case in a company where there are thousands of developers working on one product, thousands. Yeah? And then basically the customer still sees this as one product, but underlying structure is very complex. And in here, basically, the guys decided to go with several explicit lists because there are so many of them that otherwise it makes no sense to have them into one physical list. You don't see anything anymore. So that might then be more meaningful in this case. So then we have several explicit backlogs. And that, by the way, we call in less huge case. Yeah, so you can see that sometimes it makes sense. However, not on the expense of continuous improvement and not on the expense of trying to reach the perfection goal in less.
So it makes sense within a context, but we understand this is a compromise.
Yes.
Okay. And
okay. Insights?
Yes.
If a customer would have asked me that how to slice the product, should we have a mobile application or should we have then the web application? How do you know that this is not a good idea to slice this? That has been something what was bugging me. So because both are customer centric in a way, but yet they actually eliminate the adaptiveness what you want to have. So that has been bugging me. What do you think about this?
I think it's a great question. It basically comes down to what are you expecting to change? What is more likely to change?
Yeah.
And whatever is more likely to change, whatever is more likely to be needed to adapt, is how I would split the requirement areas. Also, one other aspect is technology is often easier to learn than business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you gave the example of insurance, then I would say it's probably easier to learn, if you have a backend of Java, it's probably easier to learn how to create a backend in Node.js than it is to learn about liability insurance if you are familiar with the car insurance domain.
Mm-hmm.
The complexity level of learning that is, sometimes to learn about insurance is years of degree to just understand that. So that's the main question I often ask is, what do you expect to change and what is harder to learn?
Yeah.
And then based my decisions on that. I think one insight I had when you were talking about the explicit and implicit list, I thought that the big disadvantage of having explicit lists is reduced visibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you have an implicit list or actually like a team can only do a subset of the items in the backlog, it will be very visible very fast if the organization is not working according to priority. And in an explicit list, synchronizing those requires a lot of effort.
Yes.
So here's another reason why to go with a single backlog, even if you have implicit lists.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So the 5th episode, number 5, has come to an end. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending if you're enjoying it or not. Wolfi and I really hope you find it valuable and you did get some insight and you enjoyed it. So if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or requests, please use the comment box. It's probably down here somewhere. And see you next time.
Yeah.
We do
see you next time.
Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Wolfi. It's been
Thank
a pleasure.
you, Elad.
Bye-bye.
Today's topic is product backlogs and how many do we need?
42.